This episode of The Inspiration Show is super special because today I'm chatting with Victoria. She is so incredibly talented and she is absolutely killing it on Broadway right now, and John Proctor is the villain. But here's the twist. She's the ultimate understudy hero of the show. Absolutely no villain vibes here. Victoria is seriously talented, endlessly inspiring, and just the kind of person you want to cheer for every step of the way. She's currently understudying Raelynn, Beth, Shelby, and Ivy. She's got all of the characters on speed dial and kills it every single time. Victoria, thank you so much for being here. I'm so inspired by you, and it's just such an honor to have you here.
You are so sweet. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So, when did you discover that you had a passion for singing and theater?
I was never really a part of the theater scene, like, when I was super little or anything, and then when I was in grade 4, my mom took me to see Wicked in Toronto, and at the end of the show, I guess I said to her, "I can't believe people get paid to do that, like, that's their career, that's wild," and she said, "You know, that's an option for you, you can do whatever you want," and that moment on, I saw Wicked, like, 10 more times after that, um, auditioned for the school play that year, got cast as, like, Jack's mother in Into the Woods, felt
Yes.
the adrenaline rush for the first time, and kind of the rest was history, but that was yeah, that was the big moment, discovering it was actually a career.
I love it, and I love that it always comes back to Wicked. Like, honestly,
Always,
it's always
always.
Wicked, and I think now with the movies, like, I'm so grateful that new generations and people that can't make it out to New York to see it on Broadway, like, I'm so happy they get to live it, and I
Yeah.
think from, like, the perspective of, like, the theater nerds too that have seen it, like, on Broadway or live, and when they saw it in the movie, it's like, "Oh my god, like, they used special effects to do this, and they did this differently, and they changed this," but when you see it, like, in the theater, it's right in front of your eyes, and it's just so special how they did that in
So magical. Yeah, and I'm so glad that they, like, toured because if it hadn't been in
yeah,
Toronto, I wouldn't have seen it probably.
right, all comes back to Wicked. Ugh, I love
Yeah.
it. So, what would you say really inspired you to become a performer, and who's been an inspiration of yours throughout your career?
Yeah, my parents were the biggest supporters for me growing up. I think I was super fortunate to grow up in a household where the mindset was always like, why not you? Why can't you be the one person to do it? Why can't you be the one to believe yourself and just take the leap? Because I mean, as a performer as well, there's a lot of no's and there's a lot of like kind of competition and comparison with other people around and everything. Having a support system that's really like you are special, you can do this, and you're deserving to take up space was really important. I think I was really fortunate to grow up kind of at the turn of like the Hamilton era. So
Yeah.
Hamilton coming out when I was in middle school, going into high school, really deciding that I wanted to do this as a career and being like, oh, there are roles for people who look like me. I say the story to everyone, but my mom and I would grow up seeing shows in Toronto or New York or anything and like count how many people look like me in the programs. Um, and it went from a one person in the show or like, oh, none in this one to seeing shows like Hamilton or Allegiance or the Miss Saigon revival and being like, whoa, this is actually kind of possible. And, maybe college programs are going to be looking for someone like me to play roles like this, and then they need this. So, everyone who looks like me too that was able to perform was a huge inspiration.
Oh, that's so special, and I love that support element of it because I feel like support is truly the root of this industry, especially because you can go only so far in this industry without
Mhm.
love and support from people around you. Like I always say, it takes a village.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
So you attended the University of Michigan, where you obtained a BFA in acting. Go Blue.
Go blue.
How has your
What?
experience at UMich influenced your development as an actor and prepared you for a career on Broadway?
Yeah, Michigan was kind of my dream school in high school. I could not believe I got in. I'd been eyeing it for a while because I followed all of the like social media, all the senior entrances, most of the actors I really, really looked up to growing up in theater, like who were younger, went to Michigan. I was obsessed with Ashley Park in high school, and I saw she went there, and I was like, "That's cool." But everyone I really knew went to the musical theater program, not the acting program. And I don't do a lot of musical theater. I mostly just do straight acting. So when I found out they had an acting program that was a little bit more relaxed with electives and having a double major or a double minor, I was like, oh, this could be the perfect program to do a conservatory style training, and also I ended up getting my minor in history. So I was like, oh, I can also take these other classes and not just be stuck if that's not where I want to be. I was a COVID freshman, which kind
Oh
of
no.
sucked. Doing like Meisner on Zoom was not something I would wish upon anyone, but I was still just so lucky to like hear stories from teachers and learn from them. And the thing with Michigan that I think like was really why it clicked for me is they're very choose your own adventure. So we had one professor who was so incredible. You take 2 years of stage combat, and she was the president of the Society of American Fight Directors. And I noticed like there's kind of one person per year who's like really into combat, and I was never super super good at it, but I loved doing it. And I was like, you know what? If I do like the summer program and ask to teaching assistant her, maybe I'll actually improve and get better with the training. And I did that and I kind of doubled down, and she took me under her wing and was really supportive about it. And then when I moved to New York, I got to be like, hey, I have this skill set. I trained under the president of the society. You guys should hire me to do this, this, and this. So it kind of helped me get into these rooms in theaters in New York that I probably wouldn't have otherwise been in. Um, but yeah, Michigan was a dream. Our class was 19 people by the time we graduated. Super, super close. Made some of my best friends there. Our class was kind of 50-50 split between Chicago and New York, so I have a lot of my college buddies here too are also doing the thing.
Yay.
But I loved it. I love Michigan so much.
And I love that you kind of fell into stage combat. We have
Yeah.
that's part of my program too at school is we do stage combat.
Really?
And my class just loves it. Like, are we any good at it? Nah. But
Hey, you don't need to, right? Like that's what the
it's so
training's
much
for.
fun.
Yeah.
And like the bonds that it forms when you're fighting each other and you're fighting the people that you love and oh it's
Yeah.
so much fun. I love it.
It's so creative too. Yeah, and it's really something I learned where I was like, oh, I'm truly not skilled at this, truly no background in this. How can I use my resources and just be a little like just kind of climb on up there and see what rooms I can get into.
Yeah, no, it's awesome for you to really, go and pursue that. And you're like, I'm not the greatest at it, but I'm gonna try. And you took
Yeah.
that skill set and you did it and you added it to your toolbox and look where it got you. It's
And
incredible.
here we are. Yeah.
Here we are. So you brought a production of Intimate Apparel on tour to prisons in Michigan. What
Yes.
kind of inspired that project and how did the performances affect the incarcerated audiences?
Yeah, so that was probably the project I was most proud of in college. Michigan has this amazing prison creative arts project. It's called PCAP, and it's a class you can take for 1 semester or more if you want, or do it as like an independent study opportunity. And you basically get trained on how to lead theater workshops in prisons. You sign up, you go once or twice a week in, and you lead yeah, workshops with incarcerated individuals. And it is so important. And like the movie Sing Sing came out last year, I believe, and I saw it with two friends I did PCAP with, and it was the three of us just sobbing and being like, this is something no one talks about. People get uncomfortable talking about, and we kind of do have the resources, especially at big schools like Michigan, to actually make a difference and learn both sides from it. And people don't take that because it's an uncomfortable conversation. So anyway, movies like that just are kind of bringing it to the forefront. And I even like I was talking to some John Proctor people about that, and I was like, hey, like I know we're, really busy now. We're always busy. This is an option for us to kind of do and go lead the workshops. The show, so I did the workshops for 1 semester, and then the second semester, I assistant directed Intimate Apparel, and I think 3 or 4 of the cast members also did PCAP. It was one of their ideas to bring it in. His name is Miles Matthews. He's actually my little in the program. We do like big
Oh,
movies and littles. He's so incredible. And he was like, how do we make this happen? And since I was the AD, I was like, all right, let's do it. So we connected with the professor of the PCAP class, and she helped us. We did a little tour. I think we went into 5 or 6 different facilities, most being men's prisons, but the most memorable one was probably we went to Women's Huron Valley, which is a women's prison, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with the play, but it does deal with some domestic violence in it as well. And here we did talkbacks after each of the shows, and hearing from some of the women's experience and how much it meant to see this strong character, Esther, stand up for herself and break out of this cycle meant so much, and people just resonated with these different characters. There's an Orthodox Jewish man character in it, and one of the men's facilities we went to said, I've never seen in any media an Orthodox Jewish man being portrayed anything other than stereotypical. So just little things like that. It was the most special thing ever.
I know I'm getting chills because I always talk about it on the show, and it's one of my favorite things to talk about, and it's not talked about much, is how truly important theater is. Like, we'll get into it after, but shows like Intimate Apparel and shows like Next to Normal and shows like John Proctor is the villain, like, they touch these subjects that people are like, "Mm." They're like, let's steer clear of
Exactly.
that. Let's not talk about it because they're uncomfortable to talk about. And I totally get it. But I think it is so important and it's so special the way that theater really encapsulates these topics. And then you go home and you never talk about it.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, okay, you never talk about it. But then I hear from people who see these shows and they're like, I saw this show and I haven't stopped thinking about it. Like it's me with John Proctor. Like I saw it earlier this month and haven't stopped thinking about it. People, they talk about it at the dinner table. They talk about it on the car ride home and it gets these conversations going. And it is so important and it's so special that theater can do that. It's the magic of theater.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah. And yeah, there's something so magical about it. I love it. I love that. Yeah.
awesome. I can't imagine what that experience was like for you. It must have been like the most rewarding thing.
And I'm hoping now I think after I graduated, that was my senior year. After I graduated, I believe they took their production of Julius Caesar that was all women in
Wow.
it. I believe they went to prisons as well. And I was like, can you imagine like going in front of like an all women audience with this incredible. I'm also like such a Julius Caesar nerd. Like my cat's name is Portia.
Yes. Or
And like, can you imagine like seeing like a female like Caesar and Brutus and all this stuff, like these beautifully complex Shakespearean characters for the also some people first time seeing Shakespeare and
time,
stuff
yeah.
like that. It's really special.
It's incredible. So you've also taken your work across the globe from
Yes.
an international theater festival in Romania to one in Mexico. So can you
Mhm.
share a little bit about your experiences bringing your art to all these different places and connecting with audiences around the world?
Sure, yeah, and I'm really hoping like to do more of that stuff too. And like this is all huge props to Michigan because of their programs and outreach, we were able to do all of these things. Like having PCAP already established kind of helps students get inspired to say, "Oh, cool, we have this course. Now can we bring a show in? Now can we bring two shows in? Now can all that kind of thing." Um, all that kind of thing. I don't know what I just said. But for the show in Mexico. We were doing a university production written by our playwriting professor, Jose Casas, called Somebody's Children. It was all spoken word. It was a beautiful show, five-person cast, about five high school students living in the shadows of Disneyland in Anaheim, facing homelessness and living kind of in the outskirts of a motel. Um, we ended up getting the funding to bring it to a theater festival in Mexico City. We were there for, I want to say 2 weeks or so. Got to see all of this theater from all over the world. Same with the theater festival in Romania. Like, I saw some of the most moving theater in languages that I don't speak. There was one production, I believe it was called Loon or Luna in Mexico, and it was all in Spanish, and I don't speak any Spanish. And two of our cast members were both fluent Spanish. And after they asked the non-Spanish speakers, so like, were you able to follow? So what do you think? And the three of us kind of pieced together what we thought of it, and they said, yep, you may have missed a couple little details, but you got it. So it's like seeing how it can transcend like language barriers too. We ended up we did have subtitles for our show, but then getting to speak with people from all over the world and hear what they thought of our show as well was so moving. So that was a great first experience. And then I devised this dance theater piece with some friends during a class at Michigan my senior, was that after my senior? Yeah, that was my senior year. Um, and we brought that to the Romanian Theater Festival. And that piece, it did have a lot of text in it, but it was a lot more abstract than Somebody's Children, which was like plot driven, character focused, and spoken word. Prometheus was the show we did in Romania. It was there was some Greek text in it. There was a lot of devised pieces. It was mostly movement based, so it was kind of more spectacle-y. that show we had a Romanian high schooler kind of as our guide to help us translate and move around and give us recommendations on things. We were like, it's hard for an English speaking audience to understand it. It was very meta, very like abstract. And his key takeaways from the show about climate change, immigration, all relating to Greek mythology, which was kind of the point of it, but it was very abstract, so not everyone kind of like got it. My parents came to see it in Michigan and were like, "What is happening?" And they're like, "Can we read the script?" And I was like, there is no script. I don't know how to tell you, but we didn't do it like that."
Yeah.
Um, that was really, really special. And like we saw this one theater did an all VR show, so you would
That's
sit in a
insane.
room with the headset on and you were in I want to say they were from Taiwan and you're just doing this and there are people coming right up into your face, but then you take the headset off and you're just in a room with people also experiencing it right up here. It was so cool. But yeah, these international theater festivals are so special. And now it's like, I want to go to Edinburgh so badly to see more. I just want to like see as much as I possibly can.
Oh, I know it's so special getting to see theater all around the world and like you said, like experiencing different kinds of theater. Like this year, I did devised theater for the first time.
Yeah.
My class, we came up with this theme of falling, and every group had to create a different piece. So my group, we did like somebody falling like and losing their head, like kind of
Oh
forgetting
wow.
who they are and like kind of falling into that. And it was so special. And the younger grades came to see us and they were like, we didn't understand any of it, but
Love
it
it.
was
Love it.
incredible. And
Oh
like it's
great.
so special because we talked to them after and it's like this is what we were going for as the actors and the creators of this piece. What did you get from it? And like they got most of it, but like it's so cool to see people's different like perceptions of things and whether you're speaking the same language or you're not. Like theater is a universal language and it's so special to see what people take from different shows.
Absolutely. And even with John Proctor, I had someone at the stage door ask kind of what the ending meant. And
Mhm.
I was like, what did it mean to you? Because I care much more about what it means to an audience than what it means to me as an actor doing it. And when we just had like a very interesting conversation about it, and she was like, what did the playwright think about it? And I was like, we actually never talked about what the playwright's actual intention for the ending was. At least I didn't personally. And I kind of didn't want to know because I wanted to take it for myself. And I think that was, her intention with the ending.
I know that's the one thing I said to Noah. I said the show was perfection, but I said I just needed a second after the dance
Yeah.
ended to just like collect myself. I was like, that was the, I was like, I was on the floor. I sat front row. It was my first time sitting front row on Broadway.
Right.
And I like
Intense one to be front row for.
oh my God, yes. And I lost my mind. I was like picking myself up off the floor after and like the dance was gorgeous and like you said like the ending it means something different to everyone and it had this meaning to me after I saw the show and then I got home and being the theater nerd I am, I read the script and then seeing
Yes. Oh, amazing.
what Kimberly wrote at the end of the script about Beth, I was like, wait, now it has a whole new meaning for me.
Yep.
And like it's so special that when you see something and you can revisit it so many times, and we're gonna get into that with you because you play all the parts. So it's crazy for you because like the ending might mean something to you when you're on as Raelynn versus when you're on as Shelby versus when you're on as Beth. And like I just think it's the coolest thing that when you get to kind of look at the story from all these different sides and you get to interpret what that end means. And I think it's the greatest theater ending I've ever seen. Like I was on the floor.
I agree. I'm biased, but I agree.
And like green light, I'm gonna text you when we get our Spotify wraps because it's gonna be number one on my Spotify wrap. Like
Oh
I'm
my
telling
gosh.
you,
Honestly, me too. I think
I
me.
I haven't stopped listening to it, but
Yep.
every time I listen to it, I just cry because I think of the
Yeah.
show and I'm like, oh
People ask too if we get sick of it. I'm like, I don't think you
no,
actually can get sick of that song.
no.
I don't
And that show either, like you can never get sick of that show. Like
I
because you've
don't think
seen
so.
it
Yeah.
like a bunch now.
There's always something you
Oh,
pick up, always.
oh yeah. It's so
I'm
awesome.
so glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, and I'm so excited to get into this next part because
Of
as an
course.
actor, I have to ask, what was it like stepping behind the scenes to assistant direct an all AAPI production of Next to Normal? So what new perspectives did you gain from directing that you don't really get from acting?
That's such a good question. Yeah, so the producer and brilliant mind behind doing that, her name's Caitlin Tom. She originally asked if I sang, and I was like, I always say I can sing, but people maybe don't want to listen to me sing. I was like, I can do other things, but
I'm right there with you.
I was like, that's maybe not the show for me, and I don't think you even want me to audition. But we were friends, and she was like, if you want to be a part of it, let me know. And I was like, I would love to just be a part of it. There also weren't that many Asian students at Michigan, so I was like, I need to just somehow be a part of it. Um, I love Next to Normal. I actually saw a Toronto production that was all AAPI Next to Normal, and I actually reached out to them while we were doing it. And I was like, "Why did you have this idea? Why all Asians?" And they said, "Oh, we didn't really think about it that much. We just cast the main Diana happened to be Asian, so we had to fill out the rest of the family." And I was like, "Oh, is there a reason you didn't do it kind of colorblind or anything?" And they said, "We didn't really have conversations with that because casting was white. It just made sense to them, so we just did it." For our production, it was very intentional because I think the main reasoning behind it was like to bring awareness to the mental health stigma in the Asian community and talk about like kind of intergenerational conflict and first gen, second gen, like thinking of Diana as a first gen woman and then her kids a second gen. Also thinking about specifically, I think our Natalie was part Japanese and she was talking a lot about ghost culture in Japan or ghosts in Japanese culture. So just bringing all of these elements of ourselves just made the story that is already so, my opinion, perfect. It
Yeah,
just so
yes.
much richer, and there's also so much stigma about like being medicated in the Asian community, and then you have like the whole songs about this, and then she doesn't feel like herself, and all this stuff. It was so special. My mom got to see that show at Michigan, and she it's my favorite quote she's ever said. She was actually a mess after it. And she said, and I quote, "There are tears on my cashmere." So she was just like sobbing over sweater and it just like was sitting on top of the fabric,
Yeah.
everything. But I think it meant a lot. And I wish we had more Asian students that could have come to see it because that's really who that show was for. But I think it did make strides even to me now. It's like some shows I'm like, why would we not try to make the story richer or deeper with these different casting options? There's no reason that has to be a white family or has to be an Asian family. It does change the story a little bit, even without touching the script, which is super cool.
Yeah. It's such a perfect show. Like, I remember when I got cast as Natalie, like, I knew the show, but when I jump into a show, like, I really like to know it before first rehearsal.
Yeah.
And I watched all the bootlegs, even though I'm not a bootleg person.
The
I
bootleg.
denounced them. What bootlegs? What?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Slime
I
materials.
I yes, I fell in love with that show and it is so perfect and I truly think the power of theater is encapsulated in that show.
I agree.
I have to
Yeah.
ask, what was it like for you to kind of direct that? Because I mean, for me, like playing Natalie, like my biggest thing as an actor is I love to go through a script and be like, "Ooh, I'm really similar to this, but like I don't relate to this at all."
Mhm.
Like I think for me with Natalie, like that was such a challenge because I saw myself in her at some parts, and I'm like, I don't know how to approach this because I've never experienced this as myself. So how do I
Totally.
tackle that as an actor? How did you do that as a director?
Yeah, actually, I was a sophomore, so it was a minute ago. I think similarly to when I assistant directed Intimate Apparel, I think my job, like whenever I'm assisting a director, is to let their vision just come to life and kind of offer new ideas and like kind of focus a bit more on the details because I'm like the director, they got big picture. They have a vision, they have the arcs, they have the beats they want to hit, and they have the creative vision. The assistant director, if I see something maybe not clicking with an actor because I come from the acting background, how can I communicate it in a different way so they can understand it? How can I offer up a new idea to try a scene backwards or just flipped on its head to get someone out of their head so they're not, you're not in Groundhog Day with all of it. Little things like that I think were helpful. With Next to Normal, our director, Alex Lee, she was so sweet and so kind, and she was someone I admired so much at school because she was a senior when I was a sophomore. She was like, um, here are two numbers. They're yours. Do whatever you want. Doesn't have to be with my vision. Go for it. I think we did a thrust for it in like a tiny studio space. So there was like minimal set, minimal costumes, like all this stuff. And I did You Don't Know and so the it's Natalie and her boyfriend and the piano.
Natalie,
They're singing.
everything else?
Yes,
Solo?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's my
Um,
song.
yeah, that's your song. I'm like,
I
you know
love
it.
singing that song.
So good. There was one I was really stuck, so I started looking up slime tutorials and
What?
stuff like that.
Sorry, huh? Who said
I
that?
get what you're talking about. Looking up stuff online just to see what like the intention is for the show and all that. I didn't know the show super well. Either I'd only seen that Toronto production. And I was like, okay, I think, the piano's a big thing in everything else and all this stuff. I wondered how we could play with the spacing of that with her and Henry?
Yep,
What
you
was
got
his
it. You
name?
got
Yeah.
it.
Henry. So I had them like sitting under the piano as like kind of an escape for like the family life and stuff like that. Just
Love
because
that.
we didn't have that much space. And then for You Don't Know, I think I gave them Diana and husband
And
Paul.
Dan, yep, you got it.
Diana and Dan, not Paul. Um, I forget what the game was, but there was a game I learned in an acting class that I was like, let's try it one rehearsal, and then it just became the blocking. But it essentially was Dan chasing Diana around the table, trying to like grab the box of things away. But that it was just like a more kind of actor objective-y game, but it ended up looking kind of sick of them kind of chasing each other and
Love it.
box killing and stuff.
It's definition of what's your target, how you gonna get it?
What's your
Go.
target? Yeah, but like let's show them. Let's show them. It was very on the nose, but I'm like, you know what? Okay, sophomore me, like go
Oh,
for it. Try
I
something
love
new,
that.
right?
And directing and tackling that beast of a show as a sophomore, like that's incredible that you did that.
It was such a good experience. And I'm glad I had that support system. I got to learn a lot from kind of watching as well.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. So I'm excited because we're gonna jump in all things John Proctor. So you are currently making your debut on Broadway in John Proctor's The Villain, understudying the roles of Raelynn, Beth, Shelby, and Ivy. You do it all in this show. So what were your first impressions of the script and what aspects of it kind of drew you to the show?
Yeah, so I originally just auditioned for Ivy. So I was wild.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
in September I got the audition for Ivy with the script. So I tried to read the script kind of from Ivy's perspective first, which is interesting because that's kind of, once you read it the first time, it's kind of hard to revisit it fresh again. And what I first noticed about Ivy's arc is that she like I think she starts off really her and Raelynn have opposite arcs. Like Ivy moves like this and Raelynn moves like this um in it. And I think Ivy broke my heart because I think, in that first scene she's in, she's so excited and she's free and she's, financially secure. She's a big shot dad in town, confident in school, all the boys like her, and has a good friend group and a good support network. Her insecurities don't pop out until her world starts to crumble. And she doesn't, at least in the course of the play, I don't think she finds her footing again. I think she had it and it's just kind of crumbling and then she's lost and maybe it'll take her a couple years to build that up. Whereas characters like Shelby, she has her world built, it crumbles, and now she's building it up. Raelynn doesn't have it, but then kind of with the support thing builds it back up. Um, these four girls have such unique perspectives on life and everything. I really like it's hard to read the script even just thinking of one of them. Like they're all so connected and they all love each other so deeply and so fiercely. I think that was like a big takeaway I took from it was these relationships are so strong and so developed. It was like the scenes they understand each other so well, which is unlike any other script I've written. I'm like, you are talking to this person because you know that they're gonna understand when you're saying things like this. I don't think I answered your question, but that was a little ramble about
No,
the first time reading
no,
this.
I love it. And no, I totally get exactly what you were saying because I remember reading the script after I saw the show and then just, I keep revisiting it because it's so good. And like, I always say to myself, what I would give to see this show for the first time again.
Yeah,
Like, I always
same.
say, and like, I was telling Noah too, and I can't imagine what this must be like for you guys to be on stage doing it is like, the people that see it for the first time, because like those audible gasps
Yeah,
during the show and like I had never experienced anything in a theater like that after
yeah,
that one line. I just turned to my best friend who'd already saw the show and she was looking dead at me waiting for my
yeah.
and I've never gasped that hard in a theater because of theater etiquette, but
Right.
I
You
was like
can't help it.
I was like, oh my God, like I've never been that loud in a theater before. And I can't imagine how that must fuel you guys, like day in and day out, like, telling the story and like people seeing it for the first time and having it like change lives because like it truly changed mine. Like I saw the show July 9th and today is what
Oh,
is
wow.
August 4th. And like I haven't gone a singular day without thinking about it.
So
Like
sweet.
the impact that it has is just, it's insane.
Yeah. And I mean, for us, I think it was like the first table read because we all knew the script. We'd all been working
Right,
on it.
right, right.
We had time between accepting the roles and then going in, and we were gasping and we were laughing. Like the jokes were brand new. And it was like, I remember in particular, like Fina reading Beth's first two lines in scene one. As soon as she spoke, I like had to do this because I was like, my jaw was on the floor. And I was like, that's Beth. Everyone was just alive and there. And oh, maybe she.
Portia! My
Yeah.
queen!
You wanna
Portia!
say something? Hi. So might be a little, might have to kick her out. Um, but yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. Sorry. Got a little distracted.
Oh no, you're good. I love Portia.
Sweetie.
Hi.
But yes, the first table read for us, even though we knew the script, still felt like
Yeah.
the newest, most refreshing thing. And I think there are some shows, even like when I was doing scene three, so it's the Raelynn Lee scene, when I was doing it with Noah for the first time in a while yesterday, there were moments, or oh yeah, no, it wasn't scene three. I'm not sure what scene it is when Lee says calm down
Oh
to the
yeah, yeah.
girls. And there was a moment where it just stung different because I was like, this is I was like, whoa, like it came alive in a different way for me yesterday, even though I'd done it like 10 times at that point.
And like I think that's what I love too about when you get to do the show with different people. Like I always say this too, and I love seeing understudies or swings or different people go on in these same roles because like they'll enunciate or say one word differently and
Yeah.
it will change the entire trajectory of the show. And it's the most beautiful thing because I always say it's a different show when a different person is on. And it's
Yeah.
awesome when you get to experience that.
Yeah, it is really special. I'm glad you enjoy it because I know some people also like, you want to see the main cast. I get it. Like people are doing that for a reason, but I remember too like when I was younger going to see shows, if it was something like Wicked where I'd seen it multiple times and there was an understudy on, I would be like, "Whoa, it's going to be a whole new show now." Like that's really special.
Yeah. No, that's what I always say as an actor. I'll always say a white slip in your playbill is the greatest gift in the world. That is,
That's
it's my favorite.
that's
And
really
like,
sweet.
oh my God, when I went to the box office and saw, because I went to go pick up our physical tickets, because me being a theater lover, I love my physical tickets.
Oh, I love that.
And I saw Noah was on, and I like
Yeah.
screamed, and the lady at the box office was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." It's just so special
You're
when
like, I'm more than good.
you get to see your friends go on, and especially like to get to watch them live their dreams. Like that video of you backstage being like, "Hi, I'm Victoria. I just made my promise." I sobbed. I
So sweet.
sobbed. Oh,
Yeah,
so.
we really appreciate the support. Like it's very, very sweet.
So, could you share a little bit about your journey with John Proctor's villain from your audition process to where you are now?
Yes, yes, for sure. So I went in for Ivy, or I submitted a tape for Ivy in like September. Um, got an in-person audition off of the tape and was so nervous. It was my first big in-person audition ever. So I moved to New York in that August after graduating that May. So it was a very short timeline. I was working two jobs in the city. I was working at a cafe and a bar at night. So I was like running around, auditioning, working, doing like trying to figure out my life. Tapes were cool. I could do it between shifts, whatever. And then I got the in-person audition. I went right after a cafe shift. So I was like hadn't slept, was all over the place, was so nervous because I was like, it's also Danya Tamor. Like, are you kidding me? I'm like, talk about intimidating. So I was prepared. It was only 2 pages, super short. I went in and I thought I completely bombed it. I was mortified because I had typically only done auditions that were like, come in, you say your name, maybe say hello, how are you? Do the sides great. I went in and she was like, "Oh, you can have a seat. Let's chat." And I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready now. What do you mean, let's chat? And there were like 10 people outside the waiting room too. And I'm like, can they hear me? What do they look like? Like, I was just kind of comparing myself, which is like the worst thing to do. So nervous. We ended up chatting for like 10 minutes. She's like, tell me about school. Tell me about your life. Super sweet. And I think it was like kind of to help with nerves and get to know me. but I couldn't even be myself because I was like, is this part of it? Like, what are we doing? Kimberly, the playwright, was in the room too, so I'm like a big fan of hers. So I was just freaking out. We get to the material, and I was just like, I don't even know what I did. It didn't feel good. So I left a little bit upset after that. And then I think I hadn't heard, so that was, I want to say early October, I would guess. Radio silence, got nothing. I was like, cool. After I was upset for like a week, and then I was like, all right, it's over. You know what? I did my best considering everything. I was nervous. We're done. Late November, I got an email that said, hey, we would love to see Victoria again, but can she please prepare for all the girls? And I was like, what do you mean? And I looked and it was like 15 pages or something like that of material. And I think that callback was a week away, a week and a half away. So I think I like called out of work for a bunch of days. I like locked
Yeah.
myself in my apartment and I was like, I need to memorize all of this like in 3 days so I can work on it and drill it. Because I'm someone who like I can't really work on material and feel good about it unless it's super memorized. Because when I get nervous, that's the first thing that happens. Um, so I'm drilling it for like a week and I'm feeling really good. And I got a bunch of friends to come over and drill these lines with me, give me feedback, all this stuff. I go in and I'm like, you know what? I thought I bombed the first audition. I really like these people. I'm excited just to like see Danya again and be in the room again. This is great. I go in, I'm wearing my cute little outfit. I called out of work that day like a smart person instead of like running after a shift. And there's this man in the waiting room and he's like, I really like your jacket. And I was like, thanks. It was Noah.
Of
He was
course it was.
so sweet. And then after I saw that he was cast, I was like, I don't know if you remember me because there were a lot of people probably for you, but like you complimented my jacket and you were just you're really sweet and you helped me like kind of ease some anxiety. And he was like, I remember you. And then, that's
My faves.
yeah, I call him Pookie. And then actually Garrett, who was understudying Mr. Smith, he apparently was there before Noah too. So it was like him, Noah, then myself, all in one day. Small world. So I go in. We chat a little bit more. I kind of was preparing myself to like chat and just not take everything so seriously. I was like, I'm just gonna be myself. So relax, we're chatting about shoes. Um, and then they're like, okay, who do you want to start with? I was like, can you pick the order? I was like, I'm really nervous. Like, you guys go for it. We did all four girls, one after the other. And then they're like, cool, like, thank you for being so prepared. Like, I know it wasn't that much notice. Any chance you'd be willing to do some cold reads? So I was like, sure, why not? So we ended up doing more Raelynn for that callback too. So I left and I was just like, what does that mean? Because I knew Shelby had already been cast. It had been 2 months since they had seen me do Ivy. And then these two other girls, I was like, is it for an understudy? They wouldn't have someone understudy all four of them. Then what about Net? What about Miss Valerie? Like, I was like, I just don't get it, so I'm just not gonna think about it. And I called my parents after and I was like, guys, I think it went really well. I actually don't feel terrible about this one like I did the first one. Even if I don't get it, I did my best. They saw my best work. It's over. I think 2 or 3 weeks later I got the call. And they offered me the understudy for all four, and I was like, what? Like I had no idea. Um,
Incredible. And I
but
love how you like feel like you bombed the first one and then you just got all four. Like it's
yeah, the call. I had no idea. And then I still wonder about this. I'm like, they must have seen something in the first one that they were like, okay, Ivy, not quite, but also maybe, but also like they had never seen me read for the other three, so I wonder what they saw in it that they were like, we wonder if she could do these other things. So I had also never understudied before either. So I was like, it's bold of them to trust me with that. Like,
you've
I
never
don't know.
understudied before and you're doing all four. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Look at
It was a
you.
big learning curve for sure, but I'm very grateful because then now after doing this, I'm like, all right, put me in. Like I will
Incredible.
understudy for the rest of my life.
And so wait, remind me, you've been on for Raelynn a bunch, but
It's
have you
for Raymond. Yeah.
okay, just for Raelynn so far.
Yeah.
Okay, we still got a month. We still got a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
So, what was it like being part of bringing the show to the Broadway stage, especially as it marks your Broadway debut?
Could not have asked for a better show to be my debut, to be honest. The cast and crew and creative team. are so incredible, and they I think, like, if I could put it in, like, one sentence, it would be, like, uplifting young voices is how I describe the whole thing. Um, all 5 understudies are debuts, and I think them knowing that and being, like, sympathetic towards that and wanting, like, to uplift us and, just, like, support and also encourage, like, everything I felt so supported and also very trusted. Um, I think Noah talked to you about this on his episode a little bit, but we were not really part of the rehearsal process for the first couple months. It was only after we opened that the understudy started rehearsing. And I was put on standby for one of the girls during previews. Someone got sick, ended up going on. But I remember being like, I've never done the dance. I was
Right.
like, this is wild. I had taught myself just the Shelby side of the dance from a video, but I've never run it, and I might be on for one of the two tonight. Cool. Like, that's scary. So I, like, was drilling it, and I was like, again, bold of them to trust me with that, but I would have done it, and they would have been ready. And I'm like, that means a lot, because then that kind of inspires me to work really hard and be like, I can do it. I can do any of them, like, right now with no rehearsal. Um, but that's something very special to, I think, understudies and swings is, like, feeling like they trust you with that, especially when it's your debut. It meant a lot, and, just getting to be a part of, like, conversations and shaping these characters. I think, like, this production, did a great job of shaping the characters around the actors. I think, like, each all the girls I cover in particular, like, they bring so much of themselves to each of the characters that when I started working on it in rehearsal, they were like, "We don't need you to super mimic any of them. Bring yourself as Victoria to each of them and then kind of use what they say, use their arcs, but, like, be yourself." Like, something I learned only after I'd gone on for Raelynn for the first time. I was like, my Ray, because I don't necessarily have, like, a dry sense of humor. My Raelynn, for some reason, the way it came out, I'm like, whoa, she's, like, really dry. And then that was something, like, our directors, like, encouraged, and they're like, no, if that works for you, it gets laughs and it feels right, don't copy exactly what Amali is doing. Like, do what feels right for you, which is so special as well.
And that's what you missed on Glee.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why, oh my God, I started cackling during that. Raelynn has such a special place in my heart. I love that girl. They all
I
do.
love
Like, I
Raelynn.
literally saw myself in bed, but I was watching Raelynn. I was like, this is
I
awesome.
want to protect her. I'm
I
like, I want
know. I know. She came on stage. I was like, I just want to give you a hug.
yeah, yeah.
It was so special. So I'm excited because I'm a little bit of a history buff. So I want to geek out with this with you because you also minored in history.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when you were getting your BFA, so John Proctor kind of ties both of those worlds together through its connection with the Crucible and all the like historical
Mhm.
context. So what was it like for you to debut in a piece that, you have that acting, but it's also the history, like both the things you studied?
Yeah, so, one of our rehearsals, they were like, "If you have a copy of The Crucible, bring it in." And I have all my plays, I have, like, a big bookshelf of all of my plays, and I was like, "I wonder if I."
As you should.
And I had my high school copy of The Crucible that I studied in English class, and I had my Elizabeth Proctor lines highlighted for one scene that I had to, like, read in class, and like, when cl you count ahead the lines so you know to pronounce all the words, so
Yep.
I could
Yeah.
see my little notes in the margins, and we brought it in, and we were all assigned it, but oh my gosh, I think, like, the most, like, history thing I was interested in is that we examined 2018 like a period piece,
Yeah.
'cause I was in high school studying The Crucible with that copy of it in 2018. I remember learning in a gender studies class, which at my school was, like, a brand new thing, which now I believe is called equity and social justice, but it was gender studies when I was there. And gender studies, we talked about Me Too, and they were like, "This is a new thing," and I remember learning about all of this, and I remember reading The Crucible and being like, "Wow, this is very, like, crass to learn about in school. Why is this a historic piece of literature? Like, why are we learning this? And why are we learning about a play in an English class? Why is this the only play we're learning in English class other than Shakespeare? Why aren't we doing more about that in drama?" And, like, all this stuff. I just remember all these questions. So now, like, working on John Proctor, it, like, kind of resurfaced all these questions. We've had people at the stage where, like, oh, I'm dying. Bring their copies of The Crucible that they've studied, and, you know, it means so much that people, because I remember they took us to productions of The Crucible in high school, and, like, I think about people going to see that and then coming to see us. And I think not one or the other. I'm like, please see both because they're in conversation with each other. Both scripts talk to each other so clearly. I recently learned there was like an old cut scene from an unpublished draft of John Proctor that was between, it was a scene just between Shelby and Mr. Smith. And it was, or did you ever study The Crucible or anything?
Yeah, no, I know the show well,
You
yeah.
know, so the scene kind of directly paralleled the "We never touched Abby" part of The Crucible, and it's that dynamic. And then ended up being, I didn't get to talk to the playwright about this, but I'm assuming it was like a bit on the nose and then a bit like made the characters too tied to Abigail John in it, and instead of like the themes. But then hearing about that, I'm like, I can never now see a production of The Crucible because I tried to look at like the National Theater one semi recently, and I'm like, that scene is scene 10 in John Proctor. The "We never touched Abby" is that. And it is the theoretical of, is it a body? Is a body a fact or a feeling? And all of these things. It's just, it's so interesting how they talk to each other.
The parallels just were uncanny and they were so geniusly done. Like it was incredible.
Yeah. And
In
it's not like a modern adaptation, but thematically, it totally is. So it's like, it is, it isn't. I love that it kind of lives in that gray area too. I think that's so important. I love that people kind of come to it being like, oh, John Proctor, that's from The Crucible. And then they're met with this show. Super cool.
and I think it was also super cool for me, like as a dancer as well, like watching that end be a
Oh,
dance
yeah.
and seeing how that kind of came in, because I'll always say like you can say 1,000 words with a dance. And like watching that come through, I was like, that right there is everything. It's
Yeah.
unlike anything I've ever seen. So
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
excited
I'm so
to kind
into it.
of dig deep into your brain for this next one,
Of
especially
course.
because it was your first time understudying. How did you keep the characters so distinct in your mind that you can kind of switch between them so seamlessly?
Yeah, it was a big learning curve. I was super overwhelmed when I first got the offer because I was like, we started rehearsal a month after I got the offer. So I was like, I can't memorize four girls, let alone just memorize, not
Yeah.
work on it. I was like, I am not going to be able to be memorized by the time we start rehearsal. My girlfriend's also an actor, a very talented actor, and we lived together, and she was like, I think you need to let go of that like perfectionism. You are not, she's like, you will be ready when you need to go on. Right now, just like learn about yourself, learn about the characters, and enjoy the process. And then that was like the best piece of advice I got because I was like, who do you even reach out for to learn how to swing? Like, that's not a course that's taught in high school or college. Um, I think Michigan only started doing understudies like recently because of COVID, because people were getting sick because of COVID. Our shows didn't have them. Most of the shows I did didn't have them. So yeah, anyway, I started it. So I got the script. I had the digital copy, so I made four copies of the script, and I just assigned one color to each of the girls. Um, highlighted all of them, and then just started going to town. I was the only cover initially for Shelby and Raelynn. So I was like, I need to learn these girls first. And I really focused on them two first. I did like Shelby, Raelynn, Ivy, and then Beth. Beth was, and to this day, is the character that I find the most complex. Um, I can't say that I've exactly cracked her brain. Um, she's also the character that I like want to protect the most. Like I feel that way about Raelynn too. Beth, I think there's a part of me that relates, like you were saying too about yourself. I see myself in Beth. I see myself in the like the perfectionism, the anxiety, the I want everyone to just be happy and do something with the world, and then being in not so much a position of power that like just breaks my heart. So like Beth is the one I was kind of like protecting in myself as well. So I just worked through the script character by character. Um the group scenes were the worst to work on.
Because you can do them all by yourself.
Yeah, and the best was like when I was learning, do you know the gas station scene at the end? When I was learning that one, I was just like literally talking to myself. Like it was so brutal. That
Yeah,
would have been scene
yeah,
8 in the classroom.
yeah,
Any Shelby Raylan scene, or at the end as well, like the class
yeah.
presentation. When I first went on, even I had a moment. It was the only time I kind of broke out of it. In that show, I spoke and I was like, that wasn't my line. I was like, I just messed up the whole flow of the ending. And then Kiara, who plays Shelby, kept going, and I was like, wait, did I? And then after the show, I was like, did I do something? And she was like, I don't think so, but I didn't notice. And I was like, okay, so we don't know what exactly happened, but I felt something go wrong. Um, but yeah, truly, it was just like one at a time, one girl at a time. When we would watch the main cast rehearse, I would pick only one character to focus on each time and be like, today I am only understudying Beth, and
Yeah.
that's gonna have to be okay. Um, I'd get overwhelmed when I was focusing on too many things. Like even if let's say I'm focusing on Beth today and I notice Ivy's blocking changed, I'm like, okay, tomorrow will be my Ivy day and I'll catch that. But I had one my paper script was like the master copy where I wrote down all the blocking and everything and then all my little like character work and details. I had a notebook that I took notes in their colors for and everything. Um, which was really helpful. But it was time, it was patience, it was like very much like a little bit every day for
Yeah.
all of it.
Color coding is the way to
Color
go.
coding was it. It
And
was
like
it.
I can't imagine what the dance must be like for you because I mean, in my opinion, like the show is the show, but the dance
The
is
dance.
the show.
Yeah. The
Because that's the
dance.
ribbon, and like, what was that like for you? Having to do
Oh
both.
my God. I remember the first rehearsal they showed it to us because yeah, the understudy weren't a part, yeah, we weren't a part of it because they wanted like the main cast to like explore and everything. And again, not, if we had heard their notes, maybe it would have influenced our stuff. It was quite nice that they kept it a bit separate actually. And then we got to ask our own questions and everything. The first run through where they actually put the dance together. I just remember like I was crying and it was the five understudies singing together and we were like, oh my God. Like it was insane. That and then as soon as it ended, I was like, how am I gonna learn that? I don't come from a dance background. Like I really don't come from the musical theater world at all. Um, I never got cast in like any musicals in high school or anything like that. I was like, people were like, oh, I'm a strong mover. I wouldn't even I wouldn't even say like mediocre mover or anything. Um, so I asked our amazing choreographer Tilly for a video.
My
I was
queen.
yeah, oh yeah, you like outsiders,
So
right?
silly. She's the
Tilly
best.
is she is a superhero. I'm obsessed with her and she's incredible. And I was like, hey, not a dancer. And she's like, oh no, it's fine. Like we'll have time. And I go, please, please, I need a video. Like I really can't dance. She's like, okay, like happy to do it, but also happy to meet up with you. And I was like, great. So I got the dance. It was one night, it was like a Saturday night, locked myself in my apartment with the video, and I learned the Shelby part. And then I was like frustrated. I was like, I don't understand it. Like it's not the most complicated thing, but it's so much based on like the catharsis and the feeling. Doing it alone in an apartment isn't gonna like do it justice. Um, and then the day I was put on standby, Tilly then we learned the dance, or she taught me the dance in the lobby of the booth theater of like just the iPhone playing it, and she was like, "Oh, you know the Shelby part, great." And I was like, "Do I though?" Because like I'd done it based on this rehearsal video that's old. She goes, "Yeah, we changed a couple things, but since you have that baseline, great. Like we're cool. We're not gonna need the full hour. We can do half an hour." I was like, "Great." So that was also a huge learning curve of like advocating for yourself in these rooms of like I would have been fine if I didn't know it because I asked for that video because like being kind of proactive with it made her job a little easier, made my job a little easier and kind of alleviated some stress in that moment. And then, after I learned the Shelby part, the Raelynn part is just backwards of all of it. So that was a little bit easier to learn too.
Yeah. So I want to dive a little bit deeper, like you and Noah said, with your rehearsal process. Like, I mean, being
Mhm.
the female understudy and like needing to know all four tracks and then only really getting to jump in after previews. So what was that like for you, kind of being like, my brain's everywhere?
Yeah, it was scary. It was really scary. Luckily, no one got sick during pre or like before opening at all. But it was yeah, the one standby day was really scary. I had Noah actually taught me how to do a tracking sheet for the first time. I'd never had to do one before. Did
Tracking
you do
sheets. Oh my
this?
God, tracking sheets are the best.
Yeah, yeah. So I never even heard of it before. I saw him
Really?
on his laptop in tech, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Hey, this might be really useful." I was like, "Thank you." I just had everything written in a notebook, so I digitized,
Yeah.
did a tracking sheet, which was helpful. So I was like, if I like, I knew my lines, I knew the characters, I was confident in like the acting part of it. The technical stuff was tough. Costume changes that were changing every day in tech. Um, Entrances and exits were changing every day. Couldn't keep track of all four. The sheet was great. I was like, I can make this work and like post it backstage if I really need to. It will be okay. After we started rehearsals, it was kind of it was kind of scary. When we got on, I think there was a moment where like I spoke over some of the other girls in like some of the group scenes and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I know this. We've rehearsed this. It was like the adrenaline and the anxiety just kind of made me like freak out a little bit. But that was just the first rehearsal. We have the most brilliant associate director in the world. Her name's Autumn. She's magical. I'm using that word so much, but truly Autumn is like was our like the understudy saving grace during the show. She's so intelligent. We talked about so many interesting things with her. I really believe she knows everything. She knows the show like the back of her hand. We would do the scenes, but since there are only five understudies and, nine characters, I think, we kind of would have to switch during these rehearsals. And if I wanted to be Shelby one day, I was Shelby, but Shelby's not in a lot of the group scenes. So then I would switch back to one of the other girls. But then I've never done one of the other girls in those Shelby scenes. So it was a lot of flip-flopping back and forth. And then we got one actual put in where we got to do one character, full costume, props, everything, all the way through just them and people standing in for the other roles. And they asked me to do Raelynn for that. And I was like, perfect. Because I think Raelynn has the most complicated track in terms of like changes, the dance at the end, the monologue, like that stuff. I was like, that one's scary. So I was very happy to do her for like the full put in. And then after doing that, I was like, okay, if we do these rehearsals and we don't kind of flip-flop as much, it's a little bit more bearable. Um, but I also think it was like it kind of helped me get to know the characters better by flip-flopping in each scene because I'm a very like inward out actor of like I like getting all the facts. I like writing down everything, really analyzing the script, looking at the performances, what am I taking away from them as a person versus them through the script. What swapping did was force me to do outside in of like when I'm Ivy then Beth, they carry themselves very differently. There was one day I swapped between Beth and Raelynn and our director was like, "Hey, I think we're still in Beth mode when we're doing Raelynn." She or maybe it was vice versa, but she was like, I think Beth is a little more secure than you think." And I was playing her a little bit more anxious. I was like, "Oh, I thought Beth was more anxious, but that makes sense because in this scene, Raylynn's the one who's not sure of what she wants to say." So it was a big learning curve too of like trial and error in those moments a lot. But yeah, it was very challenging for sure.
I can only imagine. And I have to ask, do you think understudying all of these characters kind of influences how you play each individual role?
Definitely. I think especially for Shelby Raylan, just because they have those two scenes, just the two of them, being able to do both parts is so important. Because, the main thing we learn is like, how can you be the best listener? How can you make your scene partner look great? How can you be a generous actor and like lift up your partner? When you've done both sides and you actually are in their brains, you empathize more. Um, Same with the mini Beth Ivy scene where Ivy's asking, are we still best friends? Learning like what Beth takes that of and knowing as like let's say I'm playing Beth, it's like Ivy really thinks she lost one of her best friends because she's siding with her dad. Like that is devastating and that makes my Beth a lot softer and a lot less like, of course we're best friends. What do you mean? It's just your dad. It's like, oh, she actually cares about me so much the way I care about her. Um, One of the rehearsal activities is sometimes repeating other people's lines back, like a question, and then repeating it back to them. Something we do. And that I used to dread doing that, but now I like understand why it's so important to do. And there was one day Fiona, another understudy, would always, when we do the gas station scene, she'd offer to be Shelby so that I had the opportunity to rehearse it as Raelynn. And there's one day she was like, now I understand the scene because I know what Shelby's trying to get at and trying to express. Now I know as Raelynn, as her best friend, what I'm trying to actually ask her and get out. So yeah, very helpful to kind of, and also learn about their dynamics too. Um, by the three girls, like their perspectives on Shelby help me understand Shelby's perspectives on them and that kind of thing.
So, what would you say is your favorite and most challenging part about being in the show?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think my favorite is getting to work with this group of people. I would say I've learned so much from them, and they're so kind, so supportive and uplifting, and also the opportunity to play four characters is very unique. It's something I don't know if I'm gonna do again. I hope I get to do it again. Um, it was a really big confidence boost because when I got the role, truly, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. I was like, I have to because this is now my job. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do well. I might just be like four versions of Victoria. But now after this time and the guidance and the support, I'm like, oh, I can swing. I can understudy. I can like hop in and do my best, and my best is good enough. Um, my least favorite part, let's think. Honestly, it might just be the uncertainty of it. It took some weeks to get used to going in and being like, everyone healthy, everyone good. That part, or like, you hear a cough and you're like,
Yeah.
it truly could be. There was one day I got called to stage management in the middle of a show, and I think I was like taking a nap during the middle of the show, and it was just like to talk about a meeting or something. But it was the middle of the show, I was passed out of sleep,
Oh,
and I was like, "Am I going on right now?"
did
Like,
the
is
show
that
swing on?
happening?
Yeah.
So that kind of uncertainty was really not for the faint of heart. But now it was also kind of a blessing because I'm like, I can do that. And when I'm not covering Raelynn anymore, like when I'm back to kind of being backstage and everything, it's like, oh, now I actually trust myself. Now I know I can do it. And there's like a great quote that I love to share. It's like, don't let perfect get in the way of being good. And it's like, my 100% is all I can control. Is enough. What does enough even mean? Like, let's just do it. Just take the jump. It doesn't matter if it's not my best show. I remember there's one show I had like three mishaps in. I said like Taylor Smith instead of Taylor Swift. Um, I had the desk when Raelynn jumps off the desk kind of came off of like after me, and I'd like pick up the desk that I dropped, and then I tripped on the skirt during the dance. Like I fell on my face. And after that show, I was like, that's funny, but I'm also really embarrassed that that happened. I'm on it. I know you're supposed to lift up the skirt here. I know you're not supposed to slide off the desk, you're supposed to jump. I know my lines. Like, what am I doing? And I was like, you know what? Let's have grace. It was a matinee. Like I did my best in that moment, and that's okay. And luckily, I had another show that night that I was going on for, so I was like, okay, now we can breathe and do it. But it's like knowing that your best is really is enough was the
I know I
big
relate to that so much because I strive for perfection on stage, and I don't know if this is just me as an actor or every actor, but sometimes I'll blank out and I'll get off stage and I'll ask my scene partner, I'm like, "Was that okay? Like, did I mess up my monologue? Like, did I get my words right?" And my teacher was like, "Even if you didn't, that's the story you're telling now.
that's okay.
You fall on your
I
face
love it.
after the dance, that's the story you
You have
told
a great
tonight."
teacher for teaching
Yeah,
that too, because it didn't always used to be like that too, right? It's like you miss a mark, that's what you're thinking about. But I love that. It's like because I have the exact same brain as you. It's like you will only remember the things that didn't go right instead of celebrating what did.
exactly. Like, don't get me wrong, it's easier said than done, but like you did it. You got out there, you did it, and you made it
Yeah,
happen. So
totally.
I'm excited to ask because I don't know the answer to this. What has been your highlight moment in John Proctor's The Villain so far?
Just one? Oh my gosh.
However many you want to give.
Okay.
That's all you.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the debut was awesome. The debut was
The
great.
video after, oh my
Um,
God,
yeah,
stop it.
my parents were here, which really meant a lot because it was one of those things too with swinging. It's like, are they gonna be there for
Yes,
the debut?
exactly.
I don't
That's a
know. They
thing.
were in town, and I was giving a night's notice, which was good too. So I was able to have some friends there, and just being able like after to hug my parents and be like, even if I had never gone on, I would have been disappointed, but it's like that's kind of what you sign up for. You don't know. I met someone yesterday at the stage door who is an understudy. He made it to an entire year with never going on. And it's like that happens. It really does happen. And it's okay. It's still a win. We learned something. I'm still young. I still have my career ahead of me. Being able to actually go on and be like, this is what I really have worked my whole life for. And I got to just have the moment and do it. I will never forget that feeling. It was incredible. And there's another time we did a Q&A with this, I think they were a theater camp or a theater like summer program. They were like asking questions, but it's stuff like this, like getting to talk to you, like people like you going into this, having such passion and drive and like getting to tell my story. Because I still think of myself in like high school shoes. Watching all these like 54 Below shows, senior entrances, like all these kind of geeky theater things. That is still how I identify. And getting to see people in your shoes that I know I'm going to see on the stage in a couple years, like all this or sooner or anything, it's inspiring to me as well, like to see that and do these Q&As um and all that stuff because like it truly is a thing of like if I'm able to do it, anyone is. It really you just have to do it. You just have to jump and go for it. And it's not easy. You know it's not easy. Like, you know, you've met with all these people, you know, you go to the school. Like, it's not easy, but like we do all of this for ourselves, truly. And it's so worth it in the long run to just go for it.
No, it's the greatest. I remember when I was on tour when I was younger and I coming out the stage door and I did a kids show. So like seeing these
Mm.
kids come out who were like 5, 6, 7 years old, there was like that was my first time seeing theater and like little did I know maybe that show helped them fall in love with theater. And then when I got to make my Green Room 42 debut in a show that I wrote about like my journey, I was like, damn, like I grew up watching people that I
Yes.
admire that have won Tony Awards stand on the stage and sing and like even with you, like I'm gonna cry just saying it, like looking at you, knowing you're from Toronto, I'm from Toronto, you
Yeah,
there you're doing the thing. Like it's so special to get to see because you never know who you're inspiring by just being yourself.
exactly. And actually 2 days ago, oh, you know what? I have another one. I have another one I want to share.
I'm living for this.
I stepped in for Shelby for one tech day. It was only one day. We were still blocking through things, but Sadie was out. Um, we did scene 8, so the classroom study scene. And it was, yeah, Amalia as Raelynn, myself as Shelby, we were in costumes and everything. We did the scene once and I like felt something in my chest and I was like, oh my God, am I about to cry? What? Whoa. And I was excited for the day. First time being on a Broadway stage, acting with people, like working really first time with Danya too. I was nervous, but I was like, oh, it's tech. It's gonna be cool. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening to me? And then I took a minute and I was like, I think I'm about to start crying. What is going on? I had never acted on stage with someone who looked like me before. Truly. There was one other Asian girl in my class at Michigan, and we were never paired together for scenes. We were never in the same show together, nothing. Um, it meant so much to me. And I told her this, and she was just like, no, it means a lot. It's really special. I'm like, if I could have told like middle school Victoria that there are like, there's like just, there's no audience for tech, but just seeing that picture or like seeing it in it of two people like, and they're such rich, complex characters. Asianness isn't a part of either of their stories, but just seeing that depicted was never something I grew up with. And then at the stage door on Saturday, I might cry again, but on Saturday night, I had a girl say, thank you for representing like Asians on stage. And I was just like, like, oh my God, like what do you mean? And I'm, that's kind of it's what you dream of and want to go for, but like you don't realize really the impact until someone says it to you. I like try not to look at like social media comments and stuff, so I don't know like really what's going on there and everything, but like even if it's just that one person, that makes all of this worth it to me. Like I remember seeing those shows and it was one person and I was like, great, that means I can do it.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
I always say. I always say if your hard work can inspire one person,
Mhm.
you've done your job. Just one. Oh,
Yeah.
so out of all the roles you've stepped into, are there a few that particularly stand out to you for specific reasons?
I think because I've gotten the chance to do Raelynn multiple times now, I I learned something new about her every show, which is interesting because Raelynn was one of the characters I thought like I cracked. I was like, I got her. I know her. I am so passionate about Raylan's arc. I think she has the clearest arc to me of like, from scene 1 she doesn't say a word to having the monologue at the end. And then this moment of catharsis in the dance where she's looking at Lee going like liar, 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 right? Like there's that arc is so clear to me and so special to me. Shelby is probably the role I connect with most. I think she's most like me. I think I love that she doesn't have a filter. I love that she's like unapologetically herself. I love that she's an acquired taste. Um with Shelby, I love that she never folds who she is for anyone. Um and that is something that I find inspiring and I've learned about myself from playing her. My heart goes out to Ivy. I think Ivy in college will learn a lot more about herself, but over the course of the show, I think she's stuck and I think she does like kind of retract back into her younger self throughout the show and I think I think she has a lot of growing to do and a lot of new people to surround herself with to learn. And then Beth, I think like I mean even just the ending, right? I think Beth has like not quite as strong as the Raelynn arc, but is still so beautifully open and opinionated, but also like willing to learn and grow and just striving to do better, just do a little bit better, a little bit better. Um, I don't even know what your question was. I kind of forgot.
Oh, oh,
Sorry.
that's all the roles you've stepped into. Is there one that particularly stands out to you?
So I guess it's all for different things, like if we're ever doing scene 7 is the Ivy's talking about her family. If we're ever in scene 7, I'm just like every night that I've gone on and I watch Maggie do scene 7, I'm like, oh my gosh, like she is going through this in real time, truly. Like she's so brilliant with it. And then, I think Fina just is Beth. Like she just encompasses Beth so well. So it definitely depends, but Shelby has my heart. Shelby is the one when I read the script, I was like, that's my girl. Like that
Yeah.
is someone I very, very, very much respect.
The one thing I pulled from you guys as an actor thing too is a note that I'm always given is don't play the ending because I'm so
Yeah,
like, on force. Like I can't imagine
yeah,
8 shows
totally.
a week not playing the ending. Oh my goodness. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So is there a particular project or moment from any point in your life that you feel truly defined you as an artist?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think it's not like one specific moment, but like kind of what we were speaking about at the beginning. My mom in particular, my dad as well, but it was always my mom who, whenever I would have these moments of like low self-esteem or anything of like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm actually not a good actor? Or I'm really not going to get into this program? Or I'm really not going to get any of these auditions or anything? My mom always said, like, so what? At least you tried. She was never like, you're gonna be a star, you're gonna do this. My parents never even were like, you're gonna be on Broadway. That was never really the goal for me. The goal was always to like be an actor, whatever that means. Like, and it changed throughout my course of life. Like when I was younger, I was like, Broadway, like all this stuff and musicals and everything. And the vision has changed. But it's like before John Proctor, when I was auditioning for all this stuff in New York, I think the only reason I was able to have my head on straight with it and kind of enjoy the process and enjoy my two like survival jobs and like enjoy auditioning and everything was because of my parents being like, even if you never get it, whatever it is, you're doing it and you're trying and you can produce your own work one day and star in it, and that will be you as an actor. Great. Like you can do anything you put your mind to. I was so lucky to have that because it just takes all of the pressure away. And it's like, of course, you get a Broadway audition, of course you're gonna be nervous. Like, yeah, Don your was in front of you asking like where your shoes are from. I was freaking out. Like, I was like so excited. But it just made it be like, you know what? I just need to show everyone who I am. I don't need to imitate anyone. And I mean, it goes back to seeing Wicked that first time. It's why not me? Why there's no reason that I can't do it. So might as well go for it.
So looking back on everything you have achieved in this industry, what advice would you give to your younger self entering the industry?
I would say aside from like the you are enough, be confident, be unapologetically you because there's only one you and it's the reason everyone loves you and everyone will want to root for you is your uniqueness, not conforming to other ideas that people have of you. Aside from that, my big piece of advice would be to stay in your lane. I think there's a lot of comparison in the industry. It's so easy, especially like, when people just graduate college, everyone's looking at what other people are doing or where was this person a year ago or what are they doing now, stuff like that. Everyone's career is so tailored to them and it's right place, right time, luck. Um I'm 22, but I'm playing 16-year-olds, right? Most of the roles I do audition for are high schoolers. So right now it makes sense that I'm kind of auditioning for these sorts of projects where someone who looks a different age than we actually are, they might need to like wait a bit to find those types of roles. Like it's all everyone is just so individual. And even people who do look like me, like age-wise, it might not be the right fit. It might be comedy versus drama versus this. Um I think staying in your lane and knowing that like you're on the right path and just focusing on the things in your lane that are in your control are going to be the most helpful. And that's also going to keep you sane when you get all the rejections and all this stuff. It's like I got to the point where after auditions, I'm like I'm allowed to think about this nonstop for a week and then I cannot talk about it anymore. And it's like that has been a saving grace because like there are even projects I'm auditioning for now where I'm like, why not? Like why not? But then I'm like, okay, what's in my control? Let's focus on the show tonight. Let's focus on just this. And that kind of like puts me at ease with everything.
Yeah. Victoria, thank you so much for joining me on the Inspiration Show. You've had such a huge impact on my life and my theater journey, and I'm just in constant awe of your incredible talent. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to get to look up to you and watch you shine. I have so much love and admiration for you, and it was such an honor to have you here. Thank you for inspiring me.
Thank you. It was such an honor to talk to you as well. And I can't wait to support you and all to come. I'm so excited to see everything.